Good afternoon, everyone. We are really honored to have with us South Korean Ambassador to India, India Shin Bong-kil, and he arrived here about five and a half months back to India. He's been a career diplomat, joined the South Korean Foreign Service in '78, served in the Korean Army, has had a long illustrious career where he's served in China, Jordan as an ambassador, South Korea, and retired a few years ago from the diplomatic service. Then, when President Moon took office earlier this year, he was handpicked as the South Korean ambassador to India. So, we're honored to have you here, Ambassador. Thank you so much for joining us. You come here at a time when it is the most interesting time on Korean Peninsula, almost in a decade or half. And it's a great opportunity for us to learn from you what's happening there, since you've traveled to North Korea, you yourself have dealt with North Korea. So to kick off this conversation, we've seen the historic meeting between the US President Trump and North Korean leader Kim-Jong-un. Could you tell us about why is North Korea coming to the table for negotiations right now?
Well, I can say a couple of different elements. I think one is that I would like to elaborate the very sincere and genuine effort by my president to make North Korea to come out to the open society and have a talk with both South Korea and United States. And this time North Korea believes the genuineness and sincerity of my president. But as they know that Korea's new president's background and his philosophy and his belief for the reconciliation of the Korean Peninsula. So this time they believed, you see, in the sincerity of my new government. That's one element. Now I think the second element is possibly this time the North Korea also thinks, the top leader thinks that North Korea cannot go on as it is. With such a severe sanction and isolation from around the world, they endured quite a long time. But the sanction is strengthening and strengthening, and particularly with the participation of China. And this time they cannot escape from the sanctions, and also that the young leader who had an experience in outside world, he spent a couple of years in Switzerland before, that I think he personally believes that North Korea cannot survive as it is. There should be something that they need economic development, and they should show some prosperity to their own people. I think that's the second, maybe, the element. And third element, I may say that North Korea achieved a certain level of nuclear deterrence. That up till now, they didn't have such a deterrence. They were not ready to come out a serious negotiation with both South Korea and the United States. But this time they themselves declared that they achieved the nuclear capability. And so they have a certain kind of leverage, you see, in this game. I'm cautiously optimistic. But this time it's different. See, they really wanted to talk directly with the United States. And the summit meeting is realized And the two are in front of the world media. They promise that they will go to the denuclearization.
Since you just said that you're cautiously optimistic, so let me, put this question to you. The current statement, the statement that came out after Trump and Kim's meeting, talks about complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. However, the nuclear non-proliferation experts, they say that it does not have phrases like verifiable and irreversible denuclearization. Now, how do you counter that when there is so much of suspicion on North Korea's intent?
I think more important thing is that you see trust between the parties, and I personally believe more important thing is the readiness and commitment actually to implement this agreement. North Korea, with the talks with my president and with the talks with Donald Trump, already agreed on the complete denuclearization.
I think President Trump in his post-summit meeting, press conference, said that he would like to stop war games, as he called it. And so how do you see that playing out in South Korean foreign policy analysis?
Yes. Yes, you see, Korea-United States annual military exercise suspended. But I think that the important thing is that if there is no kind of threat, then there's no need of that kind of military exercise. And this time, as a kind of making an environment for the serious negotiation, that the two sides are showing some kind of sincerity as a way of ensure the future kind of serious negotiation. I think Koreans also, many Koreans actually now accept it, and this kind of military exercise can be reconvened if other party breach the promise.
How do you see China's role in this whole exercise? North Korean leader just visited this week, visited Beijing.
I think China's role is very important actually in making a permanent peace mechanism in this Korean Peninsula and Northeast Asia. Traditionally, historically, China was an important player in this Korean Peninsula issues, and also even though after China established a diplomatic relationship with Korea, the relationship with China and North Korea was not so good, particularly recently with the strengthening sanction from the Chinese part to North Korea. The North Koreans were very much angry and uncomfortable with that kind of approach from China. But anyway, North Korea needs China. You see, in the negotiation, North Korea also needs a guardian. China, I think, can play a guardian's role, and China also wants the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. I think they can constructively help this process. I'm more positive on China's role in this process.
Rakesh, will this signal a shift in will this affect the power balance in East Asia?
No, I don't think so. I think, you see, the major stakeholders in Northeast Asia, everybody believes in the need of the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. And Korea, for a long time, the last more than 2 decades, we had since establishing full diplomatic relationship with China, we had a very good relationship with China. And the United States is our ally for a long time. And Japan is also our good, friendly country. And Russia. Only difference, if things goes well, then North Korea will have can make a formal relationship with the United States and maybe establish a diplomatic relationship with Japan. And I think that my new government doesn't oppose it in the condition that the denuclearization is realized and the Korean Peninsula enters into peace and stability. Then why not? We are, the new Korean government is ready to coexist with North Korea. Formerly, there was a kind of collapse of the North Korean regime. Yes, very electorate and very kind of hard stance toward each other. If everything goes well, then I think everything will be normalized.
But ultimately what came out was almost similar to what 25 years ago it came out. So what gives you hope other than this photo op is the same thing that even at that top level discussion, it was same thing which in 1993. So I don't see any movement. Why should world see a movement in this except the photo op?
This time there is a very serious political will by both sides, United States and North Korea and South Korea. Previously there was agreement was there, but I don't believe at that time there was such a very strong kind of real commitment. But this time President Moon Jae-in and President Trump and Kim-Jong-un, they have I think they are very serious. They would like to make an achievement this time.
Korea, North and South, is a Cold War parallel to West and East Germany. It has crumbled, the wall has crumbled. What is it that's keeping at a notional, like we know in India and Pakistan, we know what the enmity is. Can you explain what is it that's separate these two nations?
Actually, Germany, when the Berlin Wall was crumbled, already there was quite a long history of exchanges there. And even though there was some gap between, economic gap between the West Germany and East Germany, but there was quite, many kind of similarity already was there. And the two sides, peoples know each other, knew each other's situation very much. So even though sudden kind of crumbling of Berlin Wall was there was not such much chaos, obviously, in observing one party of other party. But Korean situation is much different. It's more than half a century divided, and there was no exchanges. And North Korea was very closed society up till now. We hope that there should be a gradual kind of integration between the two sides, and peace first, and unification next. That is different. I think North Koreans also understand that kind of, new government's policy, and also we see some changes in North Korea too. That is marketization of this country, and already market is influencing quite a lot. We see this kind of change very positively, and we would like to help them to go to more marketization and change, and it can lead to a change of the character of this regime. Not the regime collapse, but the regime should be, the character should be changed, more democratic, and which everybody can accept. Then gradually, I think there can be talks of economic integration can lead to a political integration in the future. That's I think the South Korean president's kind of strategy.
Ambassador, the removal of the propaganda loudspeakers, is there any significance that goes beyond the symbolism of the move?
Yeah, I think it is important because actually the propaganda speakers, and that was very aching kind of experience to North Korea, because North Koreans are very closed society, not know much about real South Korea, and see. But that kind of propaganda was actually front area. North Korean people are hearing it, and I think it influenced a lot. So North Korean leadership was very much sensitive about it, and they continuously asked to stop it. And I think our side unilaterally stopped it, and we hope that it can also help to make more conciliatory kind of relationship between the South and North.
Take the whole political and the governmental aspect to it at a very human level, at a very personal level. How would you define the relationship between the two Koreas? On a one-to-one basis, because in North you see these souvenirs where they say United Korea, Korea is one. In Seoul and Incheon, many people have spoken fondly about North. So how is it at a very human level between the two countries?
Always this North Korean regime, you see, made a political statement that Korea is one and we should be unified, and because of this U.S. imperialism, Korea is divided, and this division continues because of the United States. That kind of political campaign was always there, and North Korean people really believe it, and I think many of them now knows that the situation in the South, and they hope to unify. They are. You see, the people are mostly want really the unification, and South Korean side it's real different. Old generation has a real kind of you see, inner emotional kind of thinking that we are the one and we should be unified, and but the younger generation, you see, it's a little different. It's a very interesting and important change, actually. Younger generation has, when we take the public opinion poll, then younger generation in their 20s or 30s, without unification, it's okay. Why? The North are making always problems, and even though we support them economically and whatever way, they don't you see, they don't feel gratitude, or see, and always make problem and develop this weapons of mass destruction, and continually threaten the South. And why should we help them? And and if North Korea suddenly collapses, if we take over them, it's a real burden to us. Huh? Why should we? That kind of a different aspect was there in South Korean public opinion. But these days, it's changing. And the young generation also has a more positive thinking about this unification issue. And I think these summit meetings contribute to the positively to their change of thinkings.
Just to follow up on that, you saying the current mood is changing. Now we've seen at the Winter Olympics both Koreas marched under one flag, and it's likely to happen at the Asian Games as well. Is there a larger context to it in the sense that can we expect the whole contingents in the future to play together under one flag, the both two Koreas, unified teams?
Yes, already the South and North Korea leader agreed in Panmunjom Declaration that in the future sports games, the North and South will go out and they will come at one flag, and also they cheer the other team always, you see, with the same team. There was already that kind of political agreement was there, and now the North and South are meeting in military level, high-level military meeting was there, and also they are meeting to establish a permanent representative office in Kaesong area. So I think everything will go on because of the already North Korea leader already, you see, by TV or every radio, that he himself declared to the North Korean people that now we are going to the reconciliation. Now we are going to the, you see, we will meet drastic change of our environment. So I think it is different. Formally, even though there was a Geneva Agreement or that kind of, North Korean people was completely shut out of that kind of information. They didn't know it. But this time, you see, the summit meeting between Kim-Jong-un and Trump was already broadcasted in North Korean TV, and so it's quite a big change.
Ambassador Shin, since I will bring you to India's role or India's relationship now, because India has had took a very balanced approach in about 20-30 years back or 40 years back when as a leader of NAM. Of late, especially post-Trump administration, India went along with the sanctions and took a more favorable approach towards South Korea. Now we saw a month back MOS V.K. Singh visiting North Korea after almost 20 years or so. How do you see this kind of approach by India? Is it kind of trying to appease both sides, or do you get that sense that India is not kind of consistent in its approach?
No. I'm positively thinking of this development, and I think that India, even though there was some kind of pressure from Western countries, maintained your diplomatic mission in Pyongyang, and I think that was I think it gave India a kind of leverage to influence North Korea. I think it was a good thing, and we don't oppose, North Korea. India unilaterally just helping us. So we hope that India as a leading global power already has a great influence in the world politics. Has a voice even toward this Korean Peninsula issue. I think it's a really very constructive kind of role which India plays, And as far as I know, when North Korea was suffering from famine, and India was the source of providing food to North Korea, and I think it's maintaining certain kind of leverage and constructively engage in the Korean Peninsula issues is, I think, it's really helpful in the future process.
For the last 4 years, the government of India has been using yoga to project its soft power to the world. Now, some years back, Gangnam Style took the world by storm. So, are you planning to push K-pop in a similar way that government of India is pushing yoga to project your soft power to the world?
Well, recently I saw in the newspaper that two very interesting photographs. One is taken in Paris, in front of the Eiffel. There were many, I think, Parisians exercising yoga there, Yoga's Day, and also below was the photograph of the Korean Seoul metropolitan Seoul citizens exercising yoga in the downtown, I think, central downtown of Seoul, and that was two photographs were in certain newspapers. That means that Korea also has a great interest in this kind of yoga, and for a long time Koreans had a curiosity and interest in everything in India, because we, as you may know, that in ancient times, almost 2,000 years ago, Korean king married a princess from Ayodhya, India, and it was written in the Korean history book, or it was written around 1,000 years ago, that story. Some say it's a myth, but some say it's a real fact. And now archaeologically or in other ways that scholars are trying to find out what was the real, is a myth or real facts. And more weight are going on to this is a fact, and in the old times. And Ayodhya, I visited there, and I met the Chief Minister Yogi, and he was very enthusiastic in building Princess Her memorial park in Ayodhya, and we were given a plot, quite a big plot in the Ayodhya city, inside city, and we are going to build a memorial park there, and we would like to invite Korean tourists there.
I would like to kind of take you to the bilateral relations because we hear the South Korean president might visit the country soon. Last time when Prime Minister Modi he went to Seoul in 2015, the partnership was upgraded to special strategic partnership. What has been the major outcomes since then, and what are the major areas of focus going to be when President Moon visits India?
Whatever this diplomatic jargon, special strategic partnership, see, even though I'm a diplomat, the jargon itself is not important. The important thing is that this new administration is compared to previous administrations. They emphasize more of the importance of Korea's relationship with India. And actually, Korea for last couple of decades, we are very heavily dependent on our relationship with China and United States, Japan, and Russia, four major powers. For example, our economic relationship with China, it amounts to almost two-way trade volume. Annual trade volume is annually almost 250 billion US dollar. It's a big amount of, we are dependent on China, our economic relation, our investment. And China was such a big market and also our investment destination. But now things are changing. And Korean companies are more or less now, you see, diversify their attention to other areas. China has become quite competitive now, and formerly we had a competitive edge with China, but China is now, you see, quite a big economic power, and no more the relationship, the former kind of relationship. And we need a new kind of economic partnership. And India is a really growing power, economically and politically. And India is almost 7% growth in this world. It's an amazing kind of growth rate. And I think India has more potential. The growth rate will maybe jump into a higher kind of double digit. And China, when it's 20 years ago, when they started, their growth rate was 12 or 13%. It was, and India, I think, has the potential to that kind of growth rate, particularly under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi. He's all in toward the development, and he is many diplomatic community sees it very positively. I hear that Prime Minister Modi's government pledged that in a near future we'll make our economic size 5 trillion kind of country. That means that India will soon become a top 3 of world, economic size-wise. And I think it's not just propaganda. It's possible, and so everybody looks at it. India is, you see, such a big potential market, and also India is a investment destination that to make products here and export it to other countries. I recently visited Hyundai Auto in Chennai, and it was very modern and very impressive. It was better than I thought. Hyundai is competing very strongly with other top car makers. But Hyundai, I heard that they are top exporter. You see, as an export volume, Hyundai is the number 1. It's much bigger than Maruti Suzuki or other Toyota or other countries. And also, Samsung is expanding their factory here, and they soon going to, establish the second factory, and it is finished. It will be soon in a month of time. Then it will become the capacity of producing smartphone. It will be the biggest factory in the world, actually. Previously, Samsung had the biggest factory in Vietnam, but they are soon, this Noida factory will be the world number largest factory in the world, in smartphone-wise. And also Samsung has a very big research and development R&D office in Bengaluru. I visited there, and it was almost 4,500 engineers, IT engineers were there. Big building, 4,500. I heard that how many Koreans work here, and it was less than 20. And others, all are Indians, Indian engineers. And even the top 2 CEO and the deputy were Indians. So I was very surprised, actually, a little disappointed. This is Indian company. Why you say it's Samsung? Huh? This is Indian company. Huh? But anyway, Korean companies are more and more showing interest in the Indian market, and also some Indian conglomerates, top business companies are also showing interest in the business relationship with Korea, and particularly this Anil Ambani, the Reliance, and using this "Make in India" slogan to build companies here, and also Reliance also established already an office in Seoul. And they have an interest in a couple of areas like defense industry, and also solar energy, and engineering, and also financial kind of one. Already they are talking with the Korean companies very seriously to make a joint venture in Make in India, using Make in India, build, produce it, and to export into other countries. So I think gradually the economic relationship will be very much more expanded in the future.
Ambassador, you have been in Beijing for such a long period. How do you see China? Last question, talking about China's growing economic power. What do you think of China's political ambitions at the global level? Does it not worry South Korea, and how do you think, what is the way around to handle the political ambitions of China at the global level?
I stayed in Beijing for almost 7 years as a diplomat, and I have many friends there actually. They have their kind of communist system, somewhat authoritarian system, Confucius system, hardworking people, and discipline. This kind of thing helped, and also they have an instinct of commercial business, Shanghai, I think Guangzhou, and that all helped to drive economic success story of China after all, you see, because there's also quite complaint in China, in Chinese society, of the big gap between the rich and poor, and if some always rapid economic development entails negative side of counter effect. So, but I think that China and India, particularly the two countries, should get along well, because you are the biggest, the most kind of influential and growing power in the world. It's important. You should get along well with China. China can never ever disregard you. You are such a big power, a big population, and the biggest democracy, and now everybody respects India.
Do you think there is scope where in future South Korea would like to be part of it?
I think yes, many say about Indo-Pacific era, Indo-Pacific region, and these four countries strengthening relationship. I think it's a good. Every country has a right to align themselves to other countries, and as far as I know, these four countries' relationship is not military oriented. See, it's not aligned as a way of opposing a certain other party. I think this Indo-Pacific area is such an important area, and this area should be peaceful. So I think that reflects the growing importance of India in the world politics.
The Singapore summit is over and the leaders are back home. Now, so
we have learned, history has taught us haste makes waste. Haste makes waste. So we've seen Gorbachev's policies of perestroika and glasnost, opening up the society and restructuring the political regime, not only led to the disintegration but also to a lot of mess. So I ask this question because restructuring the political regime as well as opening up the North Korean society will be the two cornerstones of all policies that will be framed by the world community for North Korea. So what is the way forward? Are we to expect a similar situation, or will it be a more peaceful and more organized transformation?
I think sometimes haste can make not waste but some meaningful fruit, or you see. These are the game of politicians. And I think Donald Trump or President Kim, the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un also would like to, wouldn't want to lose momentum. See, the momentum is very important. Then we should not lose this momentum. And I think if we hasten this process, it has some merit. If you see, we should not lose momentum, and I think that my president and the North Korean young leader agree that my president will visit North Korea this coming fall in Panmunjom Declaration. Of course, there will be a problem arise between these kind of rapid change, but we need a political kind of will. So I don't afraid that I don't think this is too hasty, or I don't know, but I'm positive. Everything goes the right direction, and my president has a patience. He is a very patient man. He has a I think very similar quality with Prime Minister Modi. He has a firm belief in the development, in vision. He's also visionary. Your Prime Minister has a vision in development. My President has a vision in transforming this Northeast Asia's politics to make a reconciliation with the South, peace and stability in this region. And they are all very bold. Modi is very bold, and my president is very bold. And also, they are all very clean politicians.
Thank you, Ambassador Shin, for this fascinating conversation from nuclear to football to cricket. We covered a broad range of issues, and we learned a lot today afternoon. Thank you for your time.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Please invite me again.